Hello everyone, Pratima here. So the iPhone 17 series has been receiving overwhelming love all over the world. Pre-orders are up by 19% compared to last year's iPhone 16 series, and it looks like this is going to be a great year for Apple. There's so much to like about the new iPhone 17 lineup, well, except for the iPhone Air. I honestly think you should not get the iPhone Air because there are just so many compromises to achieve that slim form factor. Personally, the base iPhone 17 is my favorite, and I am guessing that it will win the Phone of the Year award from all of the top reviewers. My full review of the iPhone 17 is dropping in the next few days, but today let me walk you through my experience with the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And the first big upgrade here is, of course, the design. And because of this new design, I am sure lots and lots of users are going to upgrade to the 17 Pro, even last year's 16 Pro users. Personally, I really like this new design despite the mixed reaction from people. The back here is mostly made of aluminum now, except for this portion, which is glass that covers the wireless charging coil. The frames and these edges are so seamless that they remind me of my iPhone 6 days. Apple, however, removed the titanium frames, which are stronger and more durable than aluminum, and they can resist scratches and dents better too. But Apple says that they have decided to go with aluminum as it helps with better heat dissipation, which I think is a fair trade-off. At the back, we have the brand new ceramic shield too, which Apple says is better drop resistant and 3 times more scratch resistant. Even in Jerry Riggs' video, where most of the phones scratch at level 6 or 7, the iPhone 17 series only scratched at level 8. And on the day I bought the iPhone 17 Pro Max, I accidentally dropped the phone straight into concrete, but surprisingly, nothing happened to the phone, just a few scuffs, and I have been using this phone without a screen protector, and there are no visible scratches on the display, which is nice. But online, people are noticing that orange and blue colors pick up scratches on the camera module quite easily. Reviewers are already calling it Scratchgate, and in my unit, you can see here the coating on the edge has already chipped off. But all in all, this year's design feels refreshing. Finally, it does not look like any other previous iPhones, and the smooth curves give it an excellent in-hand feel. However, the display here is practically unchanged from last year. It was already excellent with one of the best touch responses on a smartphone, one of the best haptics and speaker output, and accurate color calibration out of the box. There are only 2 upgrades. Number 1, we get an anti-reflective glass, which I found to be not as good as the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, but still a good addition. It works quite well under harsh sunlight. That said, it does come with a trade-off. The iPhone 17 Pro Max actually looks a bit dimmer compared to last year's 16 Pro Max, likely because of this extra layer. And the second noticeable upgrade is that we can simply turn off PWM dimming entirely. So if you're someone sensitive to low frequency flicker, you can disable the PWM dimming and you will notice much less eye discomfort, fewer headaches, and less fatigue when using the phone at low brightness. Still, I think Apple should have gone with a high PWM dimming solution like we get on almost every other Chinese brand, because when I turn on the PWM dimming on the 17 Pro, there are slight color shifts and reduced smoothness at low brightness. But the reason I think Apple has avoided this new tech is that Apple itself heavily relies on Samsung for its iPhone OLEDs, and Samsung itself tends to stick with low to mid PWM frequencies on its flagship phones. So clearly, these 2 smartphone giants are not risking adopting to this newer dimming tech yet. And you can see a similar pattern when it comes to the battery too. While all other Chinese brands come with the fancy and more massive 6,000 to 7,000 mAh silicon carbon batteries, but both Apple and Samsung continue to play it safe with a more conventional lithium-ion tech. However, thanks to Apple's excellent optimization and a slightly larger battery this time around, I am still getting like 10 to 15% better battery life on the 17 Pro Max versus my 16 Pro Max. I have been getting around 8 to 9 hours of screen on time under heavy use, which comfortably translates to about a day and a half of usage. Meanwhile, my colleague with the smaller 17 Pro manages 7 to 8 hours of screen on time, which still gives him a solid full day of use. Charging speed has improved too. If you get Apple's new 40-watt ABS charger, you can get like 50% charge in just 20 minutes. But if you have an older 65-watt or a 30-watt PD charger from Ugreen or Anker, I don't think you'll need to go and buy this new 40-watt charger. You will not see that big a difference in the charging speeds. Okay, another new upgrade with this year's iPhone 17 Pro is the new chip. Now, if you remember, last year there were huge improvements when it comes to chipsets, not just from Apple, but from Qualcomm and MediaTek too. But this year with the A19 Pro chip, there isn't a massive leap compared to last year's A18 Pro. And for day-to-day routine tasks, you won't notice much difference either. Although in heavy workloads and gaming, there is a big improvement thanks to the new vapor chamber cooling system. Earlier, iPhones only had graphite sheets, which is a very old technology, but now we finally get vapor chamber cooling like on Android phones, which results in much better sustained gaming performance even after 30 to 40 minutes. There is no screen dimming issue, so it's great for pro gamers. And better component health overall, including battery and logic board, since I noticed temperatures while playing games are now 2 to 4 degrees Celsius lower compared to the 16 Pro Max, and the heat was spread out throughout the chassis. And of course, we finally get a stable version of the new iOS 26. I am someone who has been using this new liquid glass iOS 26 since its beta release, and with each beta release in the last 3 months or so, Apple has improved the UI and the UX, fixed a lot of tiny bugs, and it's more stable and functional now. Plus, for the first time, iOS feels highly customizable like Android. I can set MP3s as ringtones, there's a built-in call recording feature, and many other Android-like features have finally arrived, including the ability to shoot videos from the back and the front cameras at the same time. But one thing Apple still lags behind is with AI features, especially if you look at where Samsung and Google is. Apple promised a smarter, more personalized Siri more than a year ago, and a year has passed by and Apple did not even talk a bit about it during the iPhone 17 keynote, which I find to be a bit uninspiring. I remember Apple pitched this as AI for the rest of us, just like when Steve Jobs launched the original Macintosh as the computer for the rest of us, but here we are. Okay, so how's the cameras on the iPhone 17 Pro? Here, there are basically 2 upgrades that you will notice over the iPhone 16 Pro. First is the selfie camera. It has been upgraded to 18 megapixel that has a large square sensor and a wide field of view. While the wide field of view might not be useful for everyone, I found it to be really handy myself for group selfies or while vlogging. I used to rotate the phone to fit everything in, but now I can simply switch to the square mode in the camera app and capture photos or videos directly, which is much more convenient now. Even in the regular portrait orientation compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I found the selfies to have more detailed and be noticeably wider as well. Likewise, the zoom lens has also gotten a decent upgrade. Last year, it was a 12 megapixel 5x lens. Now it's a 48 megapixel 4x lens. And even though the 4x might sound like a downgrade, the sensor is now larger and it shoots in 24 megapixel by default. So the details are slightly better on the iPhone 17 Pro. Yet, it's not a huge improvement over last year as the Apple keynote had us believe. For portraits, this 4x 100mm focal length is, however, more practical compared to the old 5x 120mm. You don't need to stand as far back to capture portraits now. And overall, the portrait shots now have better edge detection and better details. But that being said, when it comes to portrait photography, I still think Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the Vivo X200 Pro, they're just streets ahead of Apple. Plus, Xiaomi and Vivo's telephoto cameras can also shoot really good macros, whereas Apple still uses the ultra-wide camera. The main reason Apple still lags here is that it uses a smaller sensor for the zoom camera. I guess Apple avoids larger sensors because that would make the camera module even bulkier, which would make the overall structure of the phone uneven in weight and less aesthetically pleasing. Now, as for the main and the ultra-wide cameras, Apple has used the same sensor as before, so there's not a lot of huge difference in images, except that the iPhone 17 Pro handles highlights and shadows slightly better. Plus, at night, I noticed the lens glare is reduced compared to the 16 Pro Max. And another strength of iPhones is the color consistency across all of the three lenses. That's something the Pixel 10 Pro also does very well, but all in all, if I have to rate the photography aspect of the iPhone 17 Pro Max, it's a solid A-, and in 2025, Chinese phones have taken a lead now. They are collaborating with big camera companies like Zeiss and Leica. They're using newer and bigger sensors, and the upcoming X300 Pro and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra are going to take the lead even further. But when it comes to video, Apple is still the king. Compared to the 16 Pro Max, highlight and glare management during low light has improved, but there isn't a whole lot of difference. In fact, they are almost identical 95% of the time. Where Apple continues to lead is with the ProRes videos. It is excellent as always, perfect for professional color grading. Portrait video mode is also superb. Switching between lenses while recording is seamless, and as I mentioned earlier, selfie videos are fantastic. The video quality overall is unmatched. Okay everyone, let me now give you my verdict, and I know for a fact that the new iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max are going to be bought out by millions and will outsell the last 3 to 4 generations of the iPhone Pro models for sure. But the sales number is not because of how innovative Apple has been with this year's Pro iPhones. It's more about Apple's ecosystem, brand power, and the overall reliability that keeps the users locked in, just like last year and the year before that and the year before that. But overall, I'm a little disappointed with this year's iPhones, to be honest. Except for the refreshed design and the selfie camera upgrade, Apple did not bring a meaningful upgrade elsewhere. There isn't a huge upgrade in the back cameras as I hoped for, especially when you compare them to how fast the Chinese Ultra phones are evolving. And the biggest disappointment has to be the lack of AI features that Apple promised before. Alright everyone, that was all for my in-depth review of the iPhone 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max. I am working on the iPhone 17 review as well, which I will publish after this video. So if you don't want to miss that, do subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications icon. Saying this, I'm Pratima, and thank you so much for watching. Bye everyone.